So Luka Nation, we're hopping on here to do a TopShot episode with somebody you guys have to know. They're taking the hobby, the crypto NFT hobby by storm. They go by the First Mint. But I'll tell you, anytime I hop on to do a TopShot episode, I can't help but smile. It's got this amazing blend of like, okay, you can make money, it's an investment, but it's fun. It just feels kind of like an online game. So I'm really excited. We got First Mint here. Peter, would you kind of introduce yourself? I mean, your story is pretty amazing. I'd love for
Sure.
you to the 60-second kind of high level about you.
Yeah. So my name's Pete. I go by Plunge Father on Twitter. I'm part of the First Mint family, which there's a handful of us now with LG Doucette, his brother Phil D, a handful of other folks that are doing sort of data analysis and news in the TopShot space. I got into TopShot in the middle of January, so not super late, or excuse me, not super recent, but also not super early. So I'm sort of new to this as well. But over the last 6 weeks or 8 weeks or however long it's been, learned a lot and have been putting out all sorts of stuff on Twitter and trying to figure out our way through this brand new marketplace. And to your point about, having fun with this, like, I think people sometimes now lose sight of that this is a game. It's a game, period, full stop. It's a game. And it happens to have components that you can buy and sell and trade. And the gamification of this is the future. That is how we get, and I think Roham just retweeted something that like, this is how we get the casual people into this, is not through, meta transactions and, a marketplace that's selling cryptocurrency NFTs. Like it's the game. That's how we get more people into this.
So what's the game?
Yeah.
What
So
is
right
the game?
now, great question. Right now, as it's manifest, the game is the challenges, right? That's what are these moments, these NBA TopShot moments, which are these non-fungible tokens, these clips that you've probably talked about with your audience before, right? Right. They serve more, or some of them serve more utility than just being able to buy and sell. Right. So right now there is a challenge ending at the end of this evening for 7:30. If you collect 10 moments of these cool cats, you get an Anthony Davis cool cat moment. And the only people that can get that moment are the ones that collect all of these things. So it's a collection, right? It's that there's a gamification of the collection element. That's maybe not the primary focus of the site right now, at least in terms of the visible outward progression of it, and because that's the news is the big sales, but this is sort of what they're after, is engagement with these moments that have utility outside of just being able to buy and sell. So that's right now, but what's coming, right? So they've announced Hardcourt, which is going to be an app. It's a game that you can play. They've mentioned a handful of times Jacob, who is the community lead at Dapper, as well as Roham, who is the CEO, and a handful of other folks as well. They've sort of hinted at that they've been working with another company to produce this mobile game that's going to utilize these moments, these NFTs that we have, to build a lineup of something. So if you can imagine something like Daily Fantasy Sports, where you have to put together a lineup of people in particular, particular players in particular positions, or at a salary cap threshold or something like that, that you could then compete against other people for prizes, like another moment that is a very rare thing that you as the winner might be able to win. So it's sort of, that's where we're headed. But on top of that, there's going to be all sorts of different third-party applications, all sorts of different third-party spaces that will utilize or may be able to utilize some of these things as well. So that's what I'm most excited about with all this. That's why I think it has so much legs here, is not just that people can buy and sell, digital basketball cards.
So I love it because I get to be not the person who's cheerleading the TopShot and it's great, it's great. I am I hate devil's advocate, but I'm not gonna play that. I'm gonna channel the audience. I'm gonna channel Luka Nation, right? We had we just did an episode with Retro Boomin, and I made a comment about Andrew. Can you look who gave me crap about that? It said, hey, I brought up the gold and the panhandlers and the stuff, but that I pivoted. It might have been on YouTube even, right? So I do the same thing as you, and I always say, the same. Hey, it's this third parties coming in, and I say this is the gold rush, and the people, it's all this ancillary stuff that popped up around it. People who are selling the pants, people who are selling the axes, and the whole deal. And I quickly pivot to say that's a good thing because all these other podcasts, your own, the Plunge Father, which just sounds like a horrible accident in a bathroom happened and you got a nickname because of it. But you know what I mean? So but at your entire, your whole crew is basically TopShot oriented, right? And that's a great thing, I think. But what I get smacked around for in the comments is the gold rush bankrupted a lot of people. It was a rush and then it disappeared. And it's not just TopShot, it's the market itself, it's the crazy prices on cards, it's the crazy GameStop stuff, you name it. And I look at it as like a positive, and people are making money, and this is a new way of doing the market. But there is the other side of the equation, the people who like I said, hit me in the comments and they say, isn't this just puffery? I mean, aren't we just like trading on smoke, mirrors, rainbows, unicorns, and the like, So what do you say to that? What's your response to that?
So I'm bullish on things in general, but I am not your guy that's going to be like, this is going to change the future and it's the be all end all of all things. And, the entire future is going to be run on TopShot moments. And that's how we're going to feed our families, right? Like what I'm bullish on is that this is the first consumer facing application that has significant like stickiness with the general public. It is a bridge between cryptocurrency and crypto assets and the general public. And what's the most, in my opinion, the biggest product for Dapper, which is the company that makes NBA TopShot, Dapper Labs. They also have another number of other NFT related projects, which is built on this Flow blockchain. And Flow is what was built because the Ethereum blockchain, if you're familiar at all, came to a grinding halt when the CryptoKitties project that Dapper Labs built shut it all down. There were so many transactions that everything came to a grinding halt. So they said, we need to build a new blockchain that can allow for these consumer-facing applications for to utilize these smart contract pieces of this technology. So Flow is, in my opinion, the future, right? NBA TopShot is the proof of concept that it works. And for everybody in your audience as well, they may say, but does it? Right? Because there's been so many challenges that the TopShot team has had to face in getting utility or getting supply into people's hands, navigating the withdrawal processes and sort of the noise around that. There's I've seen a lot of things on Twitter related to that. But to your point earlier about the gold rush in general, the gold rush here is not we're mining TopShot moments, and that's going to be what the tangible asset on the other end of this is. It's the technology that allows NFTs to become mainstream, in addition to what's coming with other blockchain projects on the Ethereum network and other things. So it's really impressive to me. And I don't care that I don't get paid anything right now. I might in the future, but I'm doing this because I really enjoy it and I like it. And I see a future for this. And the First Mint in general, as a podcast network of sorts, there's a podcast and there's a bunch of us that are kind of in the little family. We're not just looking at this from TopShot only, right? That is the starting point, because that is the entry point for a lot of people into this space. But where we see this going is a lot bigger than that. Social economy, tokenization of interaction with fans. You think about all of these different NBA players that are coming in and using this currency and this digital exchange of here's the ticket to hang out with me, right? You own my thing. That's something here. There's digital currency, but it's also it's also community currency. And I think that there's going to be a lot more applications of that type of concept as we move forward. I'm just think about a plunge token, right? Like you interact with my tweets, I give you a plunge token, and then maybe in my Slack or my Discord, you get the special plunge, the super duper plunge thing or something like that. There's all sorts of ways to sort of utilize that social tokenization.
I'll give you a really basic example. I come from small businesses, right? And small businesses need to build up a digital presence. But at the same time, small businesses, you come in, you buy 10 smoothies, you get one free. You have that reward card. Well, small businesses can now incentivize online engagement from their community, which then leads to rewards based on how much you engage with our content. Like if you engage with our content, I'll give you a coin, and then you go ahead and you get a free smoothie, or you get half off your order. Things like that is super cool. And I think it's going to give small businesses that are able to build communities, and small businesses have been crushed in the last 12 months.
Yes.
The small businesses that could build online communities, they could then mobilize them even to, online sales or in-person sales. But
why do you need a non-fungible token for that though? If you're a business,
You don't need a non-fungible token. You need a fungible token. You
Why
need
do you need
something
any
that it
kind of
doesn't matter.
token?
It's the same thing as a punch card, like he was saying,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Like
so
some way to incentivize.
But then why not just keep the punch card?
punch card costs the business money, and they're oftentimes lost, and they're not accurately
Record
fungible, divisive. Like you're not able to divide it in the right way.
Right.
And if you grew up in small business, not with diamond hands, you would know as a lawyer. You know, I come from the dirt. You come from the law background. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Cage. Don't give me the dirty look. I'm sorry.
No, I'm being serious. Forget about the token itself. I mean, it could be anything. It could be,
Right.
online. Why does it need to be tokenized for a small business? Forget about a punch card. I mean, that's just
Right.
that is an antiquated way of doing it. Why not just you sign up, you have a password online, and then they keep track of how many you have. Why do you need a token for that? I mean, I guess what I'm getting at, guys, is, before we all go and, we all, run naked, streaky through the
Right.
quad about, NFTs and, Gary's friggin' hippopotamus drawings.
Sure.
Dude,
Why does it make sense?
Right.
It drives me nuts because he must think I'm an idiot. He must think we're
No.
all morons. We know what you're doing, Gary.
Yeah.
You didn't just decide to wake up and draw little stupid animals because you like
Pleasant.
drawing things. We know what you're doing.
Right.
We all know it's going to be an NFT soon. I'm not buying it.
Real quick, because I want to hear what Pete has to say about your tokenization. The way I understand tokenization is that Dumb and Dumber, the first movie, when they open up the briefcase and they have a million little IOUs in there. It's the same thing, but digital as opposed to physical.
Yeah.
But Pete, give people, who are out there, our audience is actually traditional sports card collectors.
Sure.
Give them the baseline understanding of what NFTs are, just, fundamentally, if that's
sure.
Okay.
And I'm actually like not the super stud.
Well, in this world,
this
you're
all.
the super stud.
So
in this
I'll
room,
give you
my
10,000 foot view of this. And sort of why this matters, at least in the concept of NBA TopShot as a collectible, right? TopShot, and to your point about like why an NFT, a non-fungible token, right? Something that can be proved to be yours. It is verifiable in terms of ownership, and it is verifiable in terms of scarcity, whether or not it's very scarce or not very scarce at all, as we're seeing with some of these different mint sizes, right? But the idea there is that inherently, if you can prove that you own it, that it is authentic, and that it is verifiably scarce, then if that thing has value to someone else, you can then exchange it for some other thing, right? In our case, Dapper Bucks, right? Like that's the term I use. It's actually USDC, which is essentially a cryptocurrency that's just a dollar representation in a crypto asset, right? So if someone is willing to pay me for that thing that is verifiably mine and verifiably scarce and has a very specific serial number or anything like that, then there is, in these smart contracts, we can make that exchange in a transparent way instantaneously. And I think that, I'm not from the sports card world recently. I was when I was a kid, between ages like 10 and 13, I would go to the sports card shop and open up football cards. And I, always look for the hollows or whatever it was at that point in the, mid 2000s or early 2000s. I collected Pokemon cards. I collected Yu-Gi-Oh cards, but I used them in a game. Right. For me, it wasn't so much like I'm trying to sell this back to the person. I wanted to use them. I wanted the Charizard because it was something that could help me immediately beat the shit out of my friend Timmy. Right. Like that was the point. It wasn't that it was going to be scarce and I could put it in my time capsule in 20 years from now. If
as long as Tim didn't have the Blastoise, you were all right.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. And fair enough. Right. So, water, fire, all this different shit, right? They have different power-ups and stuff, but like, I wasn't looking at it from the context of this can net me if I send it to some guy that's sitting in his basement to grade it, 7 months later from now, that like I can maybe get a mint and like maybe exchange it and hopefully find a buyer and hopefully there's an auction house or whatever these things are. And again, I'm parroting like the satire here because I don't know it. I don't live it. I don't breathe it. I don't have any cards. So all I'm seeing is sort of the downsides of that. And I know that there are all sorts of upsides of the cardboard, the physical kind of presence of those things. And from a collectible space, that tangibility actually has value to many people. But in this case, I think devoid of that, if you don't care about that, and if that physical thing doesn't matter to you, there is inherent value in being able to exchange those things cleanly, verifiably, and determine ownership and authenticity really, really quickly. So the application that has come forward that it seems to have, gained stickiness is NBA TopShot, but we would all be fools to expect that this is not going to be NFL TopShot or MLB TopShot or English Premier League TopShot or NHL TopShot or whatever the case is, right? This is just the first proof of concept that it works really well, and that Joe Schmo, whoever, gets it enough after 5 minutes that I'm willing to swipe my credit card and do it.
So talk to me about how the stickiness, right? So my take on it is, how is it any different from any other fad, any other Beanie Baby, or any other thing where it's basically all flippers? And let me give you some actual data, right?
Yeah.
So the most recent premium drop, you remember which one it was last week? It was the MGLE, the Series 2, right? So those priced at $99, and I think the queue was 200,000 deep.
Pretty close to 200,000.
Some craziness like that. So the data that I have is a random sampling of 200 TopShot users who got
saw your tweet on this.
First moments in that MGLE drop, meaning, they were in that 200 queue, but they're not people who were in it before. So they got their first moments in that MGLE drop. 68.5% of those. So remember, it's just a random sampling. It's not scientific, but 68.5% of those got people who got their first moment in that drop, sold their MGLEs, and never did anything else. So they got in,
right?
Exactly. No purchase in the marketplace. No, they didn't, and it's, it's only been a couple of days. That's true. But they weren't like immediately hooked, like, oh, well, I sold my money. Let me buy a LeBron, or let me buy a Terry Rozier, or let me do this. They got in, they used it as a flipping, right? They paid their $99. They got their 1,000 or 2,000 out, and now it's in USDC, and they're sitting to hopefully one day withdraw it. Yeah, hopefully.
And good luck for them, right? Like, I think that the burning your hole in your pocket is going to be a big deal here, especially when it gets cleaner, easier to buy packs, easier to exchange. The marketplace kind of corrects itself from the really, really high hype cycle. If you've got $1,500 in Dapper right now and no timetable on when you're going to be able to get it out, and the next challenge comes up that's affordable, and the next pack comes up that's affordable, let me ask you, finding 68. Fair
How's
to who?
Fair and not artificial stickiness, right? Because basically what you're saying is
it's held captive.
It's held captive, and basically like, we're not going to let you take it out, so you have nothing to do but put it back in.
Fair.
How's that like?
Totally
fair
stickiness.
Criticism. Like, it's like fake stickiness, right?
Fake stickiness for those people. I think at least those people that have come in and done that thing. I think in between now and January 24th or January 8th, I think January 15th was when Bales wrote the article about the $35,000 Zion or Ja, I forget which one it was, that brought a lot of the DFS players in. Like, a ton of the transactions and the things that were sustaining the $5 million in transactions a day were not people that were here flipping moments that they got out of a single pack, right? That's a big one, right? Because to be quite honest, it would be very difficult. I didn't get a pack. It'd be very difficult for me to say, oh, there's a 15X right there. You can have it, or you can like hold on to it and like try and complete a challenge that's going to cost you 20 grand in other MGLEs or whatever those things are. So like, as someone that's brand new to this, if someone told you like, here's a savings bond, it's only $100, but I'll give you 1,500 right now for it, or you can hold on to it and hope that it goes up in value. Like, what are you taking?
Yeah. Like, I mean, I never really thought of TopShot as a savings bond, but I guess it's
not exactly. But
can I paint you a different scenario?
Yeah, go for it.
You go to an arcade, you buy a ticket or something that sends out 3 random kind of things that you could trade in. You pay $9, you get the pack. You open 3 moments, and now you have a certain amount of redeemable tokens, and now you have tokens to play the game. That's how I see it. So whether it's kind of man-made or whatever,
funny.
It's smart.
It is artificial.
I'm giving you a hard time on it only because normally I'm in your seat and I'm like, let's go. So I love having you in here because it's like a point counterpoint, and I really do love it. And Andrew, that's a great point about the arcade, because it was 2 Mondays ago, Jacob's office hours. He said exactly the same thing. Think of this like an arcade game. He said this is an arcade game. So you're 100% right. And don't think of it as a moneymaker. Don't think of it as a flipping thing. But obviously, the way that it has gone, it's hard to say don't think of it that way. It definitely is. I can tell you, though, and I'll put on a different hat. I've had much more fun in the marketplace
Yeah,
than on the
it's
packs,
cool.
if I'm being honest.
Well, the packs have been a slog, and I think that's something that they, you know, they say over and over and over again. And I say it's Jacob who leads the community, right? Roham, Alan Falcon. If you don't follow him, you should. If you're interested, he's sort of the game master, right? Like he works on the collector experience team. So how do we make this for collectors something that people want to do and want to stick around for? And that includes not just collecting and hoarding like Smog and the dungeon with all the gold, right? But like, how do we put these to use in the future with a game, right? So the idea here and what they've talked about over and over again is like, we need to get more packs in people's hands because this is not only does the supply, like the increase in supply actually builds a healthier marketplace. You might think, oh, it just, craters everything, but like actually having new supply is integral to this whole experiment. But also the slog of going through a pack drop that gets delayed and is through this beta and the stress testing, it's really grinding. And I'm going through it, and it sucks. It's awful, but like things are getting a little better in some ways. Things are getting a little more fair. They seem to have, at least outwardly, and I think that it's a true expression of what their core values are. They seem to be trying to protect the collector from the people that are gaming the system. I don't know if you had an opportunity, like 30 minutes maybe before this our chat here, they just released a statement on the marketplace bots and everything there. So encourage you and everybody else to go read it. Like they're taking a pretty firm stance that like in order to protect the integrity of the community so that we don't have that manipulation from outside forces that are trying to just come in, swoop in, take the thing and then flip it. Like we want to build around collectors. And I think that whether or not that's come to fruition yet in its final form, that's not up for debate. It hasn't, period. Like it just hasn't yet. They're trying to get there. And I believe them to an extent. I think there are, other forces at play when you're talking about huge dollars with all of this stuff. But I think, I like to assume positive intent until proven otherwise on some of this stuff. And everything that I'm seeing and hearing with this, it leads me to believe that they are in it for more than just like gouge people for as much money as they possibly can. Because if they were doing that, they wouldn't sell those packs for $99. They would have sold them for $1,000.
They had an EV could have like 2,000. Yeah. So yeah, they could have got 1,000.
They were EV of $26,000 or $2,600, and now that EV is about $1,500. So things have dipped pretty considerably in 3 days.
But isn't that healthy? Isn't that healthy, Andrew? So. You always say that, right? That's healthy. Go ahead, Andrew. What's your question?
Well, on the side of the marketplace that you guys talked about, not being able to withdraw, right?
Sure.
What if they created a second marketplace or paired people's, how much they have in their Dapper balance to allow people, to get a ticket to a Hornets game if you own a LaMelo.
Sure.
If you could redeem your $100 for a LaMelo jersey or a rookie card, they could pair it, not necessarily hear you withdraw in crypto, but hey,
sure,
you could redeem some of your moments or your Dapper balance for things that you love with your players. They could create that double-sided marketplace.
I would love that. That would be awesome. I wish I could go to a game right now. I went to one basketball game at the Pfizer Forum. I live in Madison, Wisconsin, so it's about an hour and 15 minutes or so from Milwaukee, where the Bucks play. And Pfizer, they just built not too long ago, and it's an awesome stadium. So I would love to be able to take my Giannis and, hey, you collected that $89 thing, and I can get in. Or, hey, if you have 3 Bucks players, you got a Dante DiVincenzo and a Chris Middleton and a Brooke Lopez, and you show those things, that's your entry ticket into the game. I think there's all sorts of things like that.
Right.
And did you guys see the, oh gosh, it was probably 2 weeks ago now at this point, the tease from the Mavericks about a Luka moment for the attendees at their game? It sort of slipped.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
in business, we try to create win-win-win scenarios, right?
Right.
That's a win-win-win scenario. TopShot wins, the customer wins, Luka wins, the Mavs win. Everybody wins. Everyone's happy, I think.
I think they should have a challenge. Anybody who completes a Series 1 set can withdraw as much as they want.
Now, are you biased?
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. And in fact, they're getting that right. And this has bubbled up on Twitter pretty significantly over the last 12 to 24 hours. There was, I forget the name of the guy, but there was a pretty big Twitter post from one of the DFS guys that he withdrew
35,000, right?
You want to
35,000
reward
bucks.
the 1%ers with a mansion. Hey, Warren Buffett, if you make a certain amount of money, I'm
Sure.
going
No,
to
but listen, but there were
house.
people, there were a lot of people who have been in this since the beginning, like Wade's ETH and a bunch of other guys who were like, wait, what are you talking about? Active? I can't withdraw more than $1,000, and I'm as active as they come. I think that guy's account's like $8 million or some craziness.
Yeah, not quite with Wade's on 8 million. He'll tell you over and over again that he should be at 8 million, but he's not quite. But anyway, long and short of that, and I'm in discords with all these different guys, so I see a lot of chatter outside of what's on Twitter as well. But the stuff that was on Twitter, it's sort of off-putting to some degree that there's at least the optics that someone who can parachute in, spend a lot of money, who is a verifiable person in the space, right? That somehow circumvents or skips the line, so to speak, in the withdrawal process in terms of the amount that they can withdraw and the speed with which they can withdraw. And I think Roham got a lot of flack, both from Raids and other people in that chat, in that conversation, about like, how do we protect the people that have supported this since the beginning? And how do we make sure that those folks that have been on the platform since day 1 or day 5 or day 50 that were here before the massive bull rush, can, that are sitting on these $1 million accounts, to your point, can kind of extract some of that value because they built this community, right? And rightly so, like founding members of things, in the same way that if you did angel investment in a brand new business, you should be rewarded for taking that risk financially early. And I'm full support of Wade's and all of those other folks that have been here a long time, that have gone through the KYC process and have gone through, the trials and tribulations of this beta and helped them build this infrastructure to sort of expedite that deal. I think that's their one, if not the biggest, one of the top 2 or 3 biggest issues that they face right now in making this mainstream. I am of the firm belief that the easier it is to get your money in and out, the better off we will be, because more people will be willing to put money in. It's much like DFS, or it's much like, if you go Bovada or any of these online sports betting things, if they lock up your money and it takes forever to get out and you can only get these checks that your bank isn't going to clear anyway, like people are a little more hesitant to stack the chips, right, so to speak. It's a lot easier to have that if it's a frictionless, or at least a lot less friction process than it is right now. So
have you ever taken any money out yet, Pete?
No, I'm not there yet. I've only been in for like 6 weeks. No, I've like requested the withdrawal thing, but I went through the KYC process when my account hit a particular threshold for, trading value or whatever, but I'm still kind of in the queue for waiting on that. Like I said, I've only been in since like January 18th or something like that. So I think it sounds like that's pretty typical.
So Pete, I've had a few friends. Friends have in the last, say, 10 to 14 days have messaged me and asked me about TopShot. These are guys that, one of them was hilarious. He said, I played Neopets as a kid.
Yeah. Tamagotchis and Digimon and all sorts of shit.
So this concept isn't entirely new. I would actually argue it's kind of being perfected, given a big part of what you said about CryptoKitties and how the Ethereum blockchain was so slow, so they built Flow. But the actual concept's pretty old. And it was guys that, on the periphery, they saw sports cards traditionally, booming record sale, right. Larry drawing Fleer kind of pictures and posting them on Twitter. But they were like, I don't know how to buy a card. I don't want to buy a card. But for them, TopShot was so easy. I'm curious, Pete, you just got in. Like your story is pretty similar to that. What pulled you in? Why did you decide? Just do this?
So the genesis of my name, Plunge Father, comes from a group of guys.
Oh, I don't know if we want to hear this. Do we really want to hear this?
I mean, I've told the story before. I've told the story before. So
it's after Taco Bell on a Thursday. And then, no, it's not. That's not it.
You're an idiot. No, not everyone eats junk food. Not everyone's powered by Wendy's. We're gonna have a segment on Luka Nation powered by Wendy's. It's just gonna be
hey, I love Wendy's.
The bacon cheeseburger, pub burger with the pretzel bun. Forget about it. You have not lived. Yeah,
I'm with you.
Go ahead. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Real quick. One time we hadn't heard from Cage in like 2.5 hours, which is crazy because he's always on his phone.
Oh, dude, I'm on all the time.
And then we get a text. I'm back. Powered by Wendy's.
That's it.
There you go. Love it.
Sometimes you got to recharge the batteries, man.
Dave Thomas knows what he's doing. He's not.
That's it. Always fresh, never frozen. Let's go. Sponsorship.
He's no fool. He's no fool. So anyway, long story short, with the plungers. So plunger is a term for a reckless gambler or speculator, right? So it's an alternative term, like a tout or like, similar sort of,
been there
dynamic, right? So So I started a fantasy league with, at that point, it was like 14 or 15 guys, because we were tired of just playing fantasy like September through December. So we built like essentially a fantasy gauntlet. So we started with the Super Bowl, and then we did whatever, horse racing. We did the Masters, we did US Open, we did Wimbledon, we did all these different sports, basketball, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, MLB playoffs, like all the way through. So we built this community around this like fantasy league. So it's that the group is called the Plungers, and there's about like 40 or 50 guys in it now. And there's 30 of them that compete in the annual thing. We have like a golden plunger. That's the big trophy. So anyway,
the league for NFTs and gambling.
Right. Yeah. And it didn't start, one of the guys in there got into the closed beta, or excuse me, the open beta for TopShot back in like September or October. So early January comes around, the Bales article hits, someone posts it, because it turned into a sort of social network that like there's all these channels, and the Board Man Gets Paid channel, which is our basketball channel. And someone posts that, and it's like, holy cow. And then one of the guys was like, hey, yeah, let me go check my TopShot account. And he was like, holy shit, this thing turned into however much money. He had forgotten about all these moments that were in there, and they had like skyrocketed in price. So we were like, wait, you didn't tell us about this thing? Like, let's dive in. And that first like couple days there was a pack drop, and I got 5 packs, and one of my buddies got like 20 packs, and it was right before this massive influx of users. So we started buying these things up, trading and doing all this different stuff. So but in terms of the like how easy it is to get in, that was sort of I was introduced by someone else, but I got hooked really quickly, because this pack opening experience and like the flipping on the marketplace is a lot of fun to me. It was sort of exciting to do that. So another little story about physical cards, so I play that. Those are all Dungeons and Dragons books. So I'm a big nerd too. Like I play D&D with my friends. Started in the pandemic, like, hey, how are we going to stay engaged with one another? And one of my buddies was like, who wants to play D&D? And I was like, sure, why not? I'll give it a shot. So I went there's a hobby store not too far away from where I live, probably like 30 minutes away. And I was driving through, and I was like, oh, I'll stop at the hobby store to check out and see what they have. That in D&D, you use different types of dice, and they're like all different types of designs and stuff. And these hobby stores have like really cool sets that are, they've got little fragments of stuff in them and whatever. So I walk in, and it's also a card shop. And I was like, oh, cool. Like I've been doing TopShot, like I'll crack a pack. Like, so I asked the guy, I was like, all right, give me a basketball pack. And I have no idea what any of them are. And I was like, all right, I've got like $20. Give me a $20 pack of cards. Or if it was football, actually, it wasn't basketball, it was football cards. So he gave me whatever the $20 pack of football cards was. And so I sat there and I cracked them, and I was just looking at them, and I was like, so what's like, is this worth anything? Like, is this a good one? Well, it's got 10 rookies in it. Oh, well, none of them have any, like, okay, like, cool, this is great. And I'm like relying on this guy that doesn't really know, across the counter from me, that doesn't really know these particular football cards. Oh, he's like, oh, that Arian, or that insert name of random rookie here. I think I got a Chase Young or something. And he was like, oh yeah, I think that one's kind of good, but like my boss, like he'll come back. And like if you wanted to like exchange it or something.
It has
no
utility, is what you're really saying, right?
Right. And so I'm sitting there thinking to myself, and when I was a kid, like I loved collecting that stuff, and I was buying packs, like individual packs, right? And I wasn't buying individual cards for the most part, right? I was buying these things in the hopes of hitting a lottery ticket or whatever it was for my own personal collection. Like I didn't care that I couldn't sell it, or I could only sell it to that one guy that I bought them from. So then I went home and I was like, okay, how do I figure out what this is worth? and so I was conditioned by this TopShot thing of like, I know exactly how much it's worth because someone's willing to pay me that right now for it. And I could just exchange it and be done with it as a collectible. But then now I'm like, all right, I found a couple sites, and I literally have no idea what any of those cards in that $20 pack are. They are sitting in my drawer. I could be sitting on a really expensive card. I don't think I am, but like they're sitting in my drawer and I have no utility for them. And I can't exchange them. I'm not going to go back to that store in Janesville, Wisconsin to like sell them to the Dave guy. And nor am I going to send any of them off to wherever. And I don't want to put in that time, effort, or energy to figure out what they're worth.
It's really affordable new pricing. You're going to love it. It's kind of like buy one, pay 10X.
So that's awesome.
Send them all to PSA.
Cool.
So the only thing I take issue with on that whole story is I know exactly what it's worth. I know how much someone's going to pay me. And that would be one of the changes I would make to TopShot. because you don't know what it's worth per se. You know what someone else is willing to sell it for.
True.
But you don't yet know what exactly someone is willing to buy it for. Yes, on more common moments, that floor is kind of liquid.
Sure.
I'm just curious. I mean, listen, I can make a list of suggestions because I'd love to have like an offer kind of thing on there also.
Yep.
Like people
I think
come
it's
in
coming.
and like, here's my offer.
The bid
price.
system.
That you know,
like
a bid
StockX.
system, yeah, something like that.
I think it's absolutely coming. I think if it's not coming on TopShot either, it's coming in a third party, because I think that makes way too much sense. It's really difficult for us to price moments that are more rare and, like you said, that are illiquid.
I think it's dangerous to have it a floor system like that because you got people walking around saying my Top Shots are worth $3 million, but that's like the same thing as saying, you know, my cards on eBay are worth $3 million because that's what I'm asking for them.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Totally
the buy
agree
it now price is not the full value, so it's a little tough. But I love the comparison. I love the you know the whole deal. So let me ask you something. I got a couple questions from Luka Nation. We'll give you because you know you've made some very very good arguments, right? So one, why should I get in now when I wasn't lucky enough like you to get in when I could get packs and build up my portfolio the way you were, quote, lucky enough to do? I get called lucky more often than I care to admit, but so talk to the person who's thinking about, they're listening to this and they haven't bought TopShot yet.
Sure.
So you know, they want to get in. Talk to them.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not someone that if it's not for you, like, don't force it. You know, if it's something that doesn't come naturally to you or you're really like struggling to wrap your heads around it, like, find something else that brings you joy and that you can spend time on and it's not going to cause you stress and anxiety. Like, there's way too many things out there to do that with. This is a speculative thing, right? Like, to your point about being gold rush, I have no idea where it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to go to zero. It very well could. Do I think it will? No. I think it's got too many legs and too much financial backing. I think the NBA license that they have is absolute gold. And I think where I'm coming from is I'm making choices about what to buy, what to do, trying to participate in as many pack drops as I can. I've been less successful in the last few weeks than I was before.
I haven't got any.
Yeah, I've gotten like zero. And
they
actually,
hate me.
So last night, and before I finish this, last night I ran a Twitch stream because I got 5,000 Twitter followers, which I was like really pumped about.
Nice.
So I had a bunch of people, I bought a couple moments to give away, and then a bunch of people like sent me moments to give away. And I had like subtweeted my thread to like Jacob and Roham and everybody. And I was like, hey, I'm building community here. If you airdrop packs into my account, I will give away all of the contents of them. And during the middle of the stream, I get a little notification in my TopShot. It's like, you have packs. And so I went in there and I had 2 packs in there. And I sat there and thought to myself, I had that immediate moment of like, damn, I kind of got to give these away, huh? Because I kind of, it was that fear of missing out, like, and then ended up being awesome, like cracking them for the community and all that. But that experience is like integral, in my opinion, to this experience overall. So for folks that are looking to get in, and people DM me all the time, and I'm trying to be as generous with my time as I can and like help people out. If I haven't gotten to you, I apologize. But you know, I do have a regular job too outside of TopShot. What I typically say is like, if you know, people ask, hey, I've got $500 to put in, where are you going to put it? I would not put in all of your nest egg right away. Like, whatever you're putting, I would save half of it if you're like looking at speculative stuff, because you want to try and hit the lottery on these packs, right? Because those are the things I think that will have like immediate, like, I've got 6 of them and it only cost me this amount, and now I can play around with those dapper bucks in some way. And I also think that as it gets easier and as these things become more, as the market sort of corrects itself from these massive hype cycles, the lower end moments are going to start to come down in price. New moments are going to come out in these new packs. We reserved packs, like 200,000 people reserved packs that are going to come like in the next week or two, last weekend. So as those things come out, some of the like exorbitant prices are going to start to pull back a little bit. Because right now, if you have $20, there's like 6 moments you can buy, which is not very many. But that speaks.
Enjoy your Ish Smith,
right? Enjoy your Ish Smith. You can trade it to Crypto Babe and get some nudes if you want, like whatever you want to do. But that's a tough sell, right? There should be, in my opinion, there should be $1 and $2 and $3, and there should be 50-cent ones, right? Like the fractional.
There were $3 ones. There were $1 when I saw.
Exactly.
There were dollar moments all over the place.
Yeah, all over the place. And that's the type of thing where you start to build these things. And then when it comes to the gamification of this down the line, then you have like, okay, I collected 50 of the $1 moments, and like, I can burn them and put those $51 moments into one $50 moment, right? Like there's going to be some things like that we don't even know about that are going to be like you're leveling up your chart, like your Charmander to your Charmeleon to your Charizard. Like your base set Chris Paul is going to turn into your rare set Chris Paul is going to turn into your legendary holo Chris Paul if you collect all of these things. And this is just me speculating. No one's actually said this is the thing. But like, I think there's going to be lots of things like that. So if you can get in and like in some of those ranges, it's okay to wait for some of this stuff to come down a little bit. Don't feel obligated. Like right this minute, I need to get in. I'm too late, because frankly, like you see all these Twitter polls, you see people on Sports Center, Pat McAfee show, all these different
so that was
media
great.
outlets.
83% said what's
how
Top
many people,
Shot? That was
right.
great.
What the hell is TopShot? Like it's not mainstream yet. It's mainstream in the people that you run circles with, which are people that are
I don't run circles, squares. I don't run anything. I run for no one. But yes, I know what you're saying.
Yeah. So like it's becoming known or more known by those folks, but it's not.
So what about the high price
stuff,
right? So we think some of the low stuff is going to come down. What about people who are the other end, which are people who are sitting there now and they've actually done, pretty well for themselves, right? They've done the Cool Cat Challenge and they've turned $1,000 into 20,000 in Dapper or USDC or fun money, whatever it may be, right? Funny money.
Yeah. What's my advice to them?
Do those guys have a future? Should they be now continuing to also trade up? Should they be trading their $20,000 worth of Cool Cats and get in a gold Zion or something like that? Like what should they be doing?
Color up. I think they should color up. That's what I'm trying to do. Because I think that the name of this game is going to be scarcity. Having a $50, $20 Ish Smiths for $2,000 is going to be a lot that have 15,000 mints, maybe on value wise the same as a $2,000 rare moment. That's, it's a Brandon Ingram or it's a, let's say Zach LaVine or somebody like that, or, someone in that too. That Donovan Mitchell is a good one, right? Like, there's a $2,000 rare card that only has 299 or 300 of them. I think as more serious collectors get into this, as more people get into this in general, I think those things are going to be more sought after and coveted as compared to the lower tier base set stuff, unless it's a really big player or unless it's a really cool moment. Like the LeBron James is kind of the cross section of both of those. And for your listeners that may not know, there's a LeBron James that is a 3-pointer that's a no look 3-pointer. That's like he's in the corner, he shoots the ball, turns around to the bench, doesn't even watch it go in, and they just get hyped up and runs away. And there's 15,000 of those, right? And there's 15,000 of them, but it's still right now the low ask for that thing is $1,250. Right? Because it's a cool moment on top of it being a LeBron James. But I don't think that will hold for other players in that middle tier. I think people could get wrecked by that middle tier of players where it's like, this has value right now because that was what was affordable when people came into this. But the people that are going to come in that aren't as into it or like in the weeds as other people aren't going to care. And that market for those cards is going to be really thin, unless those cards or those moments have significant utility in whatever the game is later. And that's the big thing. So if you're looking at someone coming in, if you know basketball, right? And there's someone that's a stud statistically in your DFS game or on a team that you like, or whatever those things are, that's like, doesn't get much respect in terms of like outward appreciation, either in terms of their marketplace value on TopShot or just like accolades in general, that player might be super valuable when hardcourt comes out, right? Because they're a really cheap way. It's like the boomer bust wide receiver that you put in your third flex spot, where it's like, hey, this one, I'm taking a flyer on it, but I'm not going to spend my whole kit and caboodle on it because that thing might pay me dividends in this, that 1 week that he blows up or something like that. So I think there's a way to play it, but I think don't take advice from one person, like ingest information. Don't put your entire life savings into this thing. It is a speculative thing. And try and have some fun while you're doing it. But if you're staying up late at night and, sweating whether or not you should be buying a $50 or $100, Isaiah Roby, like, just put it in context.
That's literally all I do. I feel like you're scolding me. Last night I tried 173 times without success to get a Anthony Towns Cool Cat.
I've got one for you
because
I got two on accident.
I got one this morning. I got one this morning.
Damn
I
it.
probably overpaid, but I decided that I was just gonna stop fighting with bots to get the one at the lowest price, and just said I'm gonna overpay and I don't care. I'm never gonna look at it again. I'm on my way to my LaMelo Cool Cat, and no one's gonna stop me. So
I was in the same boat. I did 27 failures, and then I accidentally bought 2 at $525 because I thought I had already done it. So I overpaid
right now. Yeah, but now it's not going to go much lower than that, and you have it, and now you don't have to fight with the bots anymore. So it is what it is.
It might go lower. I think one of the things that people are discounting with this is that there's, I'd say like,
trying to be nice to
2,500 and 3,000. I know, I appreciate it, but there's between 2,500 and 3,000 people that need a cat, and there have been, 2,500 or 3,000 sales of that cat in the last 24 hours or 12 hours.
14,000 who changed minted. So you're 100% right. The bottleneck is the Luka, not the cat.
Actually super interesting, and something that I saw just before I got on and I retweeted, of those 14,000, 8,500 of them are still in packs. So it's going to be the gift 2.0. We're going to run into a situation where all these packs got distributed that have, almost 9,000 of these Karl Anthony Towns. So there's only like 5,000 or 6,000 out in the wild, and only 3,000 people need them for the LaMelo, right? That's the Luka, is the individual owners. Once those people get their cat, the supply is going to just dry up, or excuse me, the buying market is going to be just dry as hell because they're so
smart
people.
though. They'll put that in the next giveaway, and if as long as they make it, whoever they need it for the next, as long as maybe the next giveaway is LeBron, and then all of a sudden everybody wants that cat. You never know. These guys are not stupid. They know what they're doing.
we hope. I think I think so. But
it's funny. The
we
day
hope
I got
into
smart. This, I called Andrew, and the first thing he did, as any smart person would do, and I didn't do because he's the smart one of the bunch, he researched the executive team behind the project. Yeah. And he called me up and he's like, "This was a good move. You put some money into this because it's legitimate. It's a team. Yeah. It's a legitimate team. They know what they're doing. They've done stuff before. It was before he even invested $1 in it. That's what he did. It's pretty crazy to think that but they're smart. They know what they're doing, right, Andrew?
I think so too.
Well, they know what they're doing because of experience, right? So we have these like two buckets. We have the bucket of knowledge and the bucket of experience. So they know that blockchain, trading assets, all that stuff is going to be the future, but that's not enough. Everyone knows that. They also have experience with CryptoKitties and seeing what's worked, what's not. And Roham's even talked about, how they built CryptoKitties. It was a success in its own right. They went back, and for 2 years they built Flow Blockchain so that TopShot could work so much more seamlessly. That to me is smart. That to me is how you would build a basketball team, frankly. What I think they do really well, and I think we touched on this, but they always keep money flowing in the marketplace, right? So if there was only one way to make money on TopShot, which is like going from Series 2 to Series 1 moments, it would kind of stagnate. But what they do is with all these challenges, here I am sitting on a lot of Series 1 moments. I'm like, maybe I made the wrong decision. Maybe I didn't need that Luka 3-pointer and I could have went with the Luka Cool Cat. But the Luka 3-pointer is so iconic, but the Cool Cat's for the challenge. I have to think long-term, short-term, and it's cool. It's the gamification of things.
It's a game. It all comes back to that.
Series 1 challenge. Let's go. Series 1 complete set challenge. So Pete, what couple fun ones. What are you buying? What are you telling our people to buy? What should they focus on? What's underappreciated right now?
What's underappreciated right now? Oh gosh, this is a tough one. So I think all-stars and like studs that just don't get love. So Chris Paul comes to mind. Bradley Beal, I think, took a shit in this. I think John Wall is always like, he comes up in conversation about this all the time, but like name recognition. If you're playing the shorter term game of like, what does this look like when the next hype cycle of people comes in? Who are they buying? They're going to be looking at the same ones that you looked at when you came in. So think about that. Like, what is your eye drawn to when you come into TopShot? What are you looking for? What are the first search terms that you plug in? It's probably not, Domantas Sabonis.
I love Sabonis. Don't say anything bad about him. Okay, so you've leveled up because it's all about leveling up, right? And you started off and you had your Charmander, and you made your way to a Charmeleon. So what was the last level up?
Andrew Wiggins.
See what was your last big level up?
My last big level up. So the most
Come on,
recent
flex a
big,
little for us, Pete.
no,
What do you
I
got?
don't, I actually don't have a ton of like really, really high priced moments. The last flex that I have, we bought, so we had a friend, you know, to your point about the flippers, we had someone who knew someone that got a pack and didn't know what to do with it. And they cracked a Dylan Brooks and a Steph Curry #6 out of 15,000. And I said, tell him we'll pay him $22.50 right now. And I Venmoed the guy $22.50 and we got all 6 in his pack. So the MGLE's Dylan Brooks, it'll be used in a challenge later, but we have the #6 serial number, Steph Curry common. So that was like the biggest spend recently. I also bought $2,000 PJ Washington rookie debut because I saw that he was coming onto the platform and I was like, oh, like he's a rookie, badges are coming out. He actually was playing pretty well. And then he just got, he had that 42-point night the other night. And his common moment actually took off a little bit and has actually stayed above. There's a guy on Twitter who's also part of the First Mint family. He's a guy named Steve. And highly recommend the follow there. And he sort of highlighted that in a recent post about like what happens with the player pump. I did the same thing. So, you know, I bought that and I think it'll probably continue up. Like I bought it at 2000. It's just above that now. I think if I tried to liquidate it, it would probably have to take a, you know, just $250 profit right this minute, but I think it'll go up a little bit. And then we ended up with a couple more S2 MGLEs with the idea that those S2 MGLEs, and for anybody that doesn't know what that means, it's a metallic gold limited edition. That's what they came out in these premium packs. There's 45 of them right now that are out there. Right now, there are 9 of those that are required for a Terry Rozier challenge. So if you collect all 9 and hold all those 9, you get Terry Rozier in 13 days. But the other 30, however many, 35 or whatever, 37, something like that, those MGLEs, they will be used in a future reward challenge. So even now with the prices depressed pretty significantly, those will likely get at least a 2x bump when they're announced as a challenge reward. And the next 4 challenge rewards for the MGLEs are Christian Wood, Donovan Mitchell, Nikola Jokic, or excuse me, not Nikola Jokic, Kawhi Leonard, and oh gosh, I'm going to forget the 4th one. There's one more. I forget what it is, but they're all actually like really good players. I think, you know, Scary Terry is now on the platform and all that, but like in TopShot's mind, those 4 other rewards are pretty high. So, so I think some of those S2 MGLEs are, with the market down, probably not a bad play to snap up some of those if you've got a couple $100 or a little less than $1,000 that for ones that haven't been announced in the challenge reward yet. Because the lowest of those that have been announced in the Terry Rozier challenge reward, at least last I checked, was Tim Hardaway Jr., which is at, you know, $1,200 or $1,250, something like that.
That was one of the first things I did that helped me grow the account. Was I bought every Series 1 MGLE that wasn't in a challenge yet, and right before the challenge, I sold them all. Yeah. So that was one of the, but everybody knows it now, so it's a little tough. There's a little bit of a bump.
It's a little tougher. But to your point, about 68% of those people selling them off, like they're not looking at it in terms of what is this MGLE going to do when it goes into a challenge, because they're not versed in it. And that's something that like utilizing in any investment thing or any game that you're playing, like use your knowledge to your advantage, right? If you know something, you can't assume that every other person knows that thing. There's probably a subset of people that know those things, but like use your smarts. Use your information to your advantage, because you can't assume, especially in this TopShot world, the amount of people that don't know these things. And I'm trying to sort of reconcile that in some ways. Try not to give everything away so that I could do a little bit damage on my own. But you know, it's so many new people and so many people that aren't paying nearly as close attention as I am day in and day out, that just don't know. And that's okay. But that means that, you know, you can sort of trade on that information if you need to.
So somebody who has their whole account now and they're going to be able to trade everything they've got in the last couple packs for $20,000, right? Should they be creative with it and try to buy the MGLEs and do the stuff? Or should they just take that 20 and put it in like a Zion gold out of $299, and because that's what people, you say go for scarcity, that's what someone's going to come in and try to get.
I think those like museum pieces are going to continuously rise in stature and sort of I don't know what the right word is, but like people will be after them actively. And I think much like what I assume the trading card market is, like there are a couple really iconic things that Everyone knows 86 Fleer for Jordan, right, is the one. I don't even know. This
you're
is
right.
literally what I've seen on Twitter. And then like 2019 Prism Zion is the basketball one, I think, or for like the most recent one. Mosaic, does that sound right? I don't know.
You're right. You so far you're batting 1,000.
Cool. I'm batting 1,000. I don't know much beyond that. I can literally parrot what I see on Twitter. But there are
you're
things
a
like,
guy. How about Giannis 2013 Prism? Come on, you gotta know that.
There you go. Back when the Bucks had those atrocious jerseys. They're much better now. I think, at least. Fear the deer, baby. But ultimately, I think those museum pieces are going to, like, they will be, even though they are very illiquid, there is not much of a market for them day in and day out. If they appreciate well in value, it is easier to sell one of those assets than it is to sell $100 ones, right? Like, so there's an ease of management of this thing too. So if you look at some of these massive accounts like MBL or Whale Vault, which is, that's a whole other thing, or Axlo or any of these other guys, they might have 2,000 or 3,000 moments. Like, could you imagine trying to liquidate 2,000 moments? That would be awful.
I have liquidated 1,000 moments in the last month.
Yeah.
And it is not
all from
easy.
An iPhone.
Awful.
Like,
all from my iPhone.
He doesn't even know.
Not easy.
What's your data plan look like?
It takes a lot of time. I'm on unlimited, baby.
Okay.
Come on now.
Grandfathered into the unlimited plan?
Yeah,
okay,
I'm unlimited, baby.
Okay.
But yeah, you're right though. And there is something to be said about that. But
so good for you. That's awesome though. That's great.
They have a lot of liquidity, the smaller ones though. Like if I wanted $20 right now, Schmidt is gone, So but I can't get $20 out of a Luka Series 1 Hollow. It's the floor is 88 grand, but I can't actually make $20 off of it.
Nope. You're locked in. It's like buying the, Shelby GT 500, right? Like it's yours until you can get it on the Mecum auction. Like, so, and that's okay. And I think that for folks that are coming into this or making choices like that, you need to very seriously consider, how are your assets diversified if you're looking at it from an investment perspective. And again, this is not investment advice, yada, yada, yada. It's all for fun and entertainment, so on and so forth. Right. But for me, I'm making sure that I'm looking at this from multiple angles. But for me and the group of guys that are sort of in this with me, because I don't manage and it's not just all my money, right? Like it's people that have sort of come together because we wanted to have some purchasing power. Like we're making choices about what this looks like in July. We made an active, deliberate choice to look at this and how we're managing it for July so that we can protect ourselves a little bit against the zero.
I think we lost them just for a second. I was curious before he comes back, why July, right? And what do you think that they ended up purchasing?
Well,
I think they went with an Alex Caruso one.
No, he said he didn't buy anything. I was asking what they got all these combined purchasing power, and he bought himself. What did he say? I don't even remember now because it was so uninspiring.
Well, no, I think he cut out. But Cage, as we're here we go, welcoming Pete back in.
It's funny, man.
All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. My computer crashed. You hear me now?
Yep,
so you're planning for July. Why July?
Yeah. So to be honest, it has to do with like, how do we manage people, right? So like, if we had a bunch of people coming in, I haven't been shy about this. Like, there's people that have kind of come together to make these choices, and it's too hard for us to say like this just has an indefinite timetable, right? We need to have a goal for us, like what does this look like by here, so that we're sort of like marching towards that, and like with the intention then of liquidating it, or in theory liquidating everything at that moment, right? So and who knows how that will actually play out. Maybe some of the assets we want to keep, people buy each other out, yada yada yada, right? There's all sorts of different ways to do that, and it's sort of informal in some ways and formalized in others. But I think for us, and what I keep coming back to on this is that it's very helpful for making choices about what has like a higher or a longer runway or a shorter runway, because it's very difficult right now for rookies. Is a really good example where it's like, how much more runway do these rookies have in their rookie season? Do I need to wait until they're an all-star again, or the next thing, like to realize this? Or is it something that like, they're going to have their one and done, and then like next year, if they don't pan out, they'll be gone, and I don't have to worry about that speculative investment
or that speculative choice of like, I need to wait 2 years or 3 years or 5 years to figure out if the bet that I made is the right one. So it just makes it a little bit easier for some of that planning. That's not for everybody though. I think there are many people that are using this and are thinking about this in terms of a check and hedge against some of the inflation that we see in the marketplace, and like using it as a value store for other things that have much longer timetables, whether it's the 3 years or the 5 years or the 10 years down the line, where they see that, $200,000, Trey, $200,000 LeBron Kobe tribute dunk, and aren't thinking like that's going to go up by 50% by July. They're looking at it like that's going to be $1 million in 5 years, which is just not the end of the pool that I'm playing in. So it's been helpful. I don't necessarily recommend everybody do that, especially if you think that you're going to be into it longer term, which I think I will. It's just in terms of the choices that I'm making for the assets that I'm managing right now. It's with that sort of timetable in mind.
What's next for the First Mint? What's next for you guys? What's next for the podcast?
Yeah, great question. I think just keep like content grinding out. We do or LG does 2 podcasts a week I think he releases on Monday and Wednesdays. And then we do a live show every Friday. So we're working on, different guests and building up community members and all sorts of different stuff there. And then I think that the folks that are kind of being pulled into the fold, like myself, and some of the other folks like Chugs and Bugs and Greg Murray, and Steve, and some of the guys from Evaluate.market, and a handful of other folks that are helping us with production and graphic design and, all these different things, is like, how do we build a website? Like, what does that look like? How do we build around the community for to be a central hub for resources and for places where people can come for information, that we can be like voices of reason within the community, as well as like positive forces, as well as like informational sources. So I think, not to pull too much behind the curtain, I think LG would get mad at me about like, what's our plan? Because there's a lot of people in this space right now. And I think, I can win with, I think it's a Gary V thing, right? Like I can win and you can win. Like there's not it's not just a zero sum game, which I think
especially how quickly it's growing. There's
right,
plenty of room for everyone.
Right. And I think that it's very likely that there will be a lot more of that. So how do we build out, and I don't want to call it a network, but like, how do we build out a collaborative network of individuals that can like contribute to the building of something bigger than the sum of its parts. So I think that's, that's where we're headed in the short term. So you can expect a lot more content from us in general. If you don't follow LG or at the First Mint, please do. It's a blast. And I as I'm a fan first, and then I'm also part of that as well. And, it's been nice to be able to speak to folks like yourself that are doing something similar in a kind of similar space as well. Cause it's always cool to talk TopShot with people that know TopShot, but also to your audience that may not. That like gives me energy, and I'm really pumped about it. So
I love it. We're doing an NFT night tonight on Clubhouse.
Okay.
What do you wish people, because NFTs are so much more than TopShot, right?
Yes. Yes.
So much more. Like TopShot is like a pebble in the NFT world. What do you see happening with NFTs?
Yeah.
What's your 1-2 minute take on NFTs?
Yeah. So I am certainly not the expert on this, and because I really haven't invested or dove into other projects. This is not something that I've spent enough time learning or really heading into. What I see other people that I trust speak about, and what I sort of internalized in what I've read and ingested, is that there are a lot of opportunities to have creative applications of concepts within the NFT world. It is not just a piece of art. It is not just a moment. It is not just, this, that, or the other thing, right? We talked about tokenization earlier, but like there are lots of different ways that that you can apply a concept or utilize the technology of a non-fungible token for not just like making money, but kind of supporting artists or supporting things and causes that you care about. I think is it 3LAU? I don't know how you say that. 3LAU that did the record sale the other night. That was incredible, right? Kind of watching from the sidelines of these recordings that were unique and very scarce. If my only concept of this is like I forget who it was, like Martin Shkreli bought the what was the artist that he bought the like unreleased mixtape for like a couple $1,000,000 before he went to jail. I forget who it was. I feel
It
bad.
was a hip hop artist, right?
Yeah, it was a hip hop artist or a group. I forget. Wu-Tang Clan. Was it Wu-Tang Clan?
Mm-hmm.
So like he bought like the unreleased mixtape for like whatever. And you know, maybe that's not an NFT, but it's like the same concept where it's like, oh, this really unique, scarce, personalized thing is a mechanism for me to engage with an artist in a very unique way, or engage with a celebrity in a very unique way, or engage with a star, a superstar from a sports world in a very unique way. So there's lots of those types of opportunities. Like I said, I have not put any capital in anything else. I have been enjoying sort of reading and learning about all of these other things. But what I'm most excited for personally is what's coming on Flow, because I have Dapper Bucks and what's coming on Flow next, or at least one of the next projects, is Dr. Seuss art. So I think it's like drseuss.flow.com or something like that. Like they're going to be utilizing the Flow blockchain to have a project relative to that. So I think Flow's biggest asset is not NBA TopShot moments. Flow's biggest asset is 100,000 or 200,000 or 300,000 or 400,000 people that are verified identities, that have money in Dapper wallets that they can point at other things that are on the Flow blockchain. And if you don't think you're the product, then you are sorely mistaken. So I know that they're building around community and there are elements of that, but just like Facebook, just like Instagram, just like TikTok, just like any other social network that is like, you are the product, even though you use the service. So just keep that in mind, and don't like get jaded or guys, I guess the wool pulled over your eyes that like there is business happening here, and you as a user are a valuable asset for them to utilize in some way, shape, or form, even if that also entails building community around these things, which is a very key and integral component to, at least as far as I know, and as far as I've seen, the vast majority of these NFT projects that are successful. It's not just cash grab and done, it's community built around that particular thing. So that's my thoughts, high level.
Love it. We'd love for you to join us on Clubhouse tonight. It's an NFT night. We're going to have Jeremy Padawer on. No pressure. Okay. But if you join, I think you're a huge resource for them.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I think I'm where they could find you and your guys' team, I guess.
Team is maybe right word. The family, this thing of ours,
brotherhood.
Yeah, call it that. So I go at Plunge Father on Twitter and Twitch. I have the TikTok and the Instagram, but I'm just squatting on them right now. I also am squatting on plungefather.com. Didn't want anybody to swipe that from me. But you can also follow at The First Mint, like mint ice cream, The First Mint, to reference to minting NFTs on the blockchain. And then you can follow LG as well at LG Doucet, DOUCET. And then once you're there, you'll probably find the rest of the gang in there, The Real Field D, Chugs and Bugs, Greg Murray, Steve, guys at Evaluate Market, handful of other folks as well. So once you follow one or more of us, you'll start to see posts from everybody else as well. And you can sort of filter and follow from there.
Thanks,
beautiful. Thank you very much for joining us, man.
No, it was a blast. I really appreciate it. And good luck with everything. If you need anything else, I probably won't be able to join you in Clubhouse tonight. I've got a couple kids and I got things to do with them, but at sometime in the future for sure. Definitely enjoyed speaking with you both, and good luck selling more than 1,000 moments in the next month. March is going to be big for you, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping I'm not selling. I'm hoping I'm just keeping them all in the account and watching them going up and down.
Diamond hands, baby. Diamond hands.
That's what I'm hoping for. Take care, man.
You as well. Great job. We'll talk soon.
See you, brother.